Hello everyone, welcome back to News of Asha. Today is 6th of August 2023. Let's see what's happening in the world today. Philippines accuses China of firing water cannons at boats in South China Sea. The Philippine Coast Guard has accused its Chinese counterpart of firing water cannon at its vessels and blocking them in the disputed South China Sea. The US has condemned Beijing's dangerous actions, also blaming Chinese maritime militia for the incident. Firing water cannons and employing unsafe blocking maneuvers, PRC ships interfere with the Philippines' lawful exercise of high sea freedom of navigation and jeopardizes the safety of Philippines vessels and crew, the department said in a statement. China ignores an international arbitration court's ruling that it claims to almost the entire South China Sea is ill-founded. This is a map of the South China Sea. I live in this country here, Malaysia. Philippines seems to be having problems. So is Malaysia, Vietnam, and Indonesia, and Taiwan, and a few other countries who are disputing the territorial waters in the South China Sea. Well, China, naturally being a big bully, thinks all of it is theirs, but clearly not everyone agrees with this sentiment. Chandrayaan-3, historic India mission enters moon orbit aiming for the South Pole. Chandrayaan-3, India's latest moon mission, has entered a lunar orbit, the country's space agency said. The spacecraft with an orbiter landed and a rover lifted off on 14 July. It will try to set the lander and rover on the lunar surface on the 23rd or 24th of August. If successful, India will be the first country to land near the moon's little explored South Pole. It will be only the fourth to achieve a soft landing on the moon after the US, Russia, and China. This comes 13 years after the country's first moon mission in 2008, which discovered the presence of water molecules on the parched lunar surface and established that the moon has an atmosphere during the daytime. So, how India's Chandrayaan-3 will reach the moon? Well, you launch off Earth, you orbit Earth in a gradually increasing orbit. The reason we do this is to reduce the fuel consumption used, as opposed to just going straight up. If we were to just orbit Earth, we can use Earth's gravitational field to help maneuver the lunar lander further with less fuel, though you sacrifice time instead. So by using less fuel, you carry less weight, but at the same time, it will just take you a bit longer to reach your destination. And as you reach the moon, you slow down in the similar manner. That way, you also again use less fuel, but you sacrifice time instead. But time is something we are willing to sacrifice because carrying heavy objects into space really takes up a lot of energy. We tend to try to make things as light as possible, and we take the time to reach our destinations. Once it lands, the six-wheel rover will eject and roam around the rocks and crater on the moon's surface, gathering crucial data and images to be sent back to Earth for analysis. The rover is carrying 5 instruments which will focus on finding out about the physical characteristics of the surface of the moon, the atmosphere close to the surface, and the tectonic activity to study what goes on below the surface. I'm hoping we'll find something new, Mr. Somanath has said. India is not the only country with an eye on the moon. There's a growing global interest in it. This is the Chandrayaan-3 module, and this is the rocket that's carrying it up into space. Everyone's interested in the moon now. The question is that we are all discussing is who gets to lay claim on what territory is on the moon, and hopefully as a species on Earth we'll come together and realize that the moon belongs to all of us and not one particular country, or not breaking the moon up into pieces to lay claim. That will take time, because as much as we have developed and moved forward in our progress as a society, we are still tribalistic, and we still fight amongst nations because, you know, my skin color is different than your skin color, so let's fight. Hopefully we will move out of this and reach a more unified future for humanity. US job markets hold steady despite rate rises. Employment in the US held steady last month, bolstering hopes that the economy will avoid a painful downturn. The report was the latest sign of economic resilience in the US despite a sharp rise in borrowing costs. Hiring has slowed since last year and was weaker than forecast in July, but has held up better than many expected. This is a very, very contradictory statement, saying that the latest signs of economic resilience and at the same time saying that it's weaker than forecast. But I guess now the US is also playing the Chinese game of muddling and messing up their numbers to make things look better than they actually really are. The Fed Chairman Jerome Powell has said that policymakers want to see other signs that the economy is cooling in order to feel confident that their efforts are working. Well, if you continue to manipulate the data, I'm sure you can make sure your efforts work. Last month's results offered evidence that employment growth has begun to slow, and today's numbers indicate that a downward trend may be in motion, said Richard Flynn, Managing Director of the Charles Schwab UK. While this should be encouraging for policymakers as they continue to battle sticky inflation, the Fed would likely prefer to see wages gains closer to 3%. Manufacturing, transportation, tech, and media firms shed jobs. Most other sectors expanded, with healthcare firms driving the gains. I think everyone is starting to have a really strange feeling that everything's being manipulated in order to make it look better than it actually really is. Squeezed by inflation and low salaries, Taiwan's young adults see their dreams fading. One graduate spends almost a third of his salary renting a 72 square feet room. One observer says some Taiwanese youth can't afford a home only if they don't eat a drink for 20 years. Why are some in Taiwan stuck? Let's be honest, a lot of youth almost everywhere on earth is stuck, and this is because of bad management by central planners, bad management by central banks, and the complete misuse of the banking system to continuously create money out of thin air, causing money to lose its value at an astounding rate. Despite going to university, many young Taiwanese and many other students around the world are worse off than their parents were after entering the workforce. How is it we are in a much better society and the younger generation, which is all graduating and doing much better educationally, is doing worse off than their parents, whereby most of our parents had only a single working parent at home while one parent went to work, and in these days both parents go to work and it's still not enough. They are faced with realities of living on a stagnant wage and paying high rents. Yeah, I think that speaks for itself. One graduate has got multiple jobs just to cope, though for many like him, the issue arises earlier when choosing what to study. It seems as though degrees are completely useless. Me myself am a college dropout, and it doesn't seem like those with degrees are faring any better than anyone else. This is a story of Wang. Wang graduated with a broadcasting degree from a Taiwanese university in 2021 and works as a video producer for a startup media platform. But his monthly salary is at roughly US $1,350. He has had to take on multiple jobs besides delivering food ad hoc. Wang works part-time as a dishwasher in a restaurant and does translation work for a television series. All I do is earn as much money as possible just to make ends meet. How is it someone with a broadcasting degree has to go and work part-time as a dishwasher? This just shows that the current state of the economy is not helping and not productive for the younger generation. Wang is not alone in finding things hard after graduation. Nearly 54% of Taiwan's population aged 25-34 has a degree, according to statistics from the Ministry of Interior. They must be really proud that almost everyone has a degree, but most of them barely can even make ends meet. With more graduates comes more competition for jobs, and for young people like Wang, a degree is not the golden ticket it used to be. With wages stagnating and the cost of living spiraling in recent years, some of them struggle to get by, let alone build a future or chase their dreams. This directly relates to the dropping in birth rates everywhere around the world, because the younger generation barely can afford to feed themselves, let alone get married and have a family. So if we want to do something about this, we better start working on our youth. And if we don't work on our youth and we don't help them get back on their feet, humanity is going to be facing a very big problem in the next 20 years. And unfortunately, everyone that runs the show are boomers that are 75 and 80 years old, who are way past their age, and they should be retiring and letting the younger ones come in, but I guess the stranglehold on power is just too tempting to let go. China flood water diversions to populated areas unleash wave of online anger. Beijing, nearly 1 million people in China's northern Hebei province were relocated after record rains forced authorities to channel water from swollen rivers to some populated areas for storage, sparking anger online over the home sacrifice to save Beijing. According to flood control laws, when basin-wide flooding causes reservoirs, the first line of defense to exceed the limits, water may be temporarily channeled to so-called flood storage areas, including low-lying populated land. Well, many netizens say that Beijing should foot the bill if they are going to disrupt people's lives and just redirect water and destroy homes, but Beijing. In other posts on Zuzu, netizens said residents were not aware they lived in a flood storage area and the rights of the minority has been sacrificed. I like to know, among all the people living in flood storage areas across the country, how many of them know they are living in such areas, one angry netizen asked. A lot of people in China has to face on a daily basis where they are merely just used by their governments for whatever reason, and since they are in a communist nation, the government has full control over everything that goes on, so most people really don't have that much rights when it comes to certain circumstances, especially circumstances like this, as well as no recourse on how to get back lost or damaged equipment. There is no means of gaining any reprieve or any compensation for all the troubles that they have faced. The stock market's next challenge, August doldrums. The stock market has soared so far this year, but expect the month of August to be lackluster if the past several decades are any guide. The site's analysis also shows that August before presidential election year points to a particularly weaker month as the Dow Jones Industrial Average, the Nasdaq, and the S&P 500 all declined in the last three pre-election years, 2011, 2015, 2019, and now 2023. And with stocks on a roll so far in 2023 and relatively weak seasonal trends ahead, we suspect this could be a logical spot for a pause or pullback in this rally. Barrett added that if these tech stocks and mega cap stocks will be under pressure, that means that the indexes are going to remain muted for the foreseeable future. Some of those areas like energy, like materials and industrials, that have much lower weightings in those indexes, are they going to be able to withstand the selling pressure coming from those growth stocks? It seems as though everything is one big giant show and the stock market is not an indicator of how well the economy is doing. The stock market is basically propped up by free money printing, and the real economy is propped up by real people doing real things, and inflation is coming down, which means people are not spending, which also translates to low economic output. Therefore, the stock market, it does not represent what is happening in the real world. Blockchain security firm Certek reveals vulnerability in WorldCoin protocol, allowing unverified orb operators access. So we've talked about this WorldCoin protocol where they would like to verify if you're a human or not. And in a recent thread, Certek explained that the vulnerability allowed anyone to bypass the verification requirements to become an orb operator without meeting the necessary criteria, such as being a legitimate company or passing a vetting interview. And the fact that this exists and was found by Certek, I promise you, somebody in the crypto space has already verified their fake orb operator and is already creating fake bullshit in the WorldCoin ecosystem. Certek said it reported the issue to WorldCoin through a white hat disclosure procedure, and the project security team quickly addressed the vulnerability with a fix. Certek has since verified and confirmed that the fix mitigated the threat, the company wrote. Well, you've mitigated the threat, but what about any unverified people that has already verified prior to this vulnerability fix? Last week, Kenya's Minister of Interior issued a decree suspending WorldCoin sign-up, citing concerns about its activities on authenticity, legality, security, financial service, and data protection. And I think more governments and countries need to be vigilant in what's going on in this WorldCoin fiasco. A 2022 investigation by MIT Review found that WorldCoin used deceptive marketing practices, collected more personal data than disclosed, and failed to obtain meaningful informed consent. Just recently, it was revealed that the European regulators, including the French National Commission of Informatics and Liberty and the Bavarian State Authority in Germany, are collaborating with an investigation into the project. I hope many more countries will start investigating the project in order to really see what these people are up to, because Sam Altman may look like he is a person that is trying to be a philanthropist and someone who's trying to help the world, but having be the CEO of OpenAI, the company was supposed to be open, but the moment Microsoft came with a couple of hundred million, and boom, OpenAI became closed AI. So it's very hard to trust someone who flip-flops on the main ideals that he was having in the beginning of a start of a project. So anything can happen in another 5 years where China comes and says, here's 1 billion now, how about you give me this WorldCoin project, and poof, WorldCoin now is being owned by China or North Korea or whoever in the world. So governments and countries should really take this seriously. Class action lawsuit against Tether and Bitfinex thrown out. The lawsuit filed by Matthew Anderson and Sean Dolfica in 2021 alleged that Tether claims of its stablecoin USDT being backed one-to-one by the US dollar were false. But the US District Court has ruled in favor of the USDT issuer, citing a lack of plausible allegation of injury in the complaint. Basically, the judge is saying, hey, can you show me anyone who actually has not been able to withdraw the USDT and has incurred injury or any form of problems with the system? And the answer was obviously no. So the US government is also working on stablecoin regulation, as lawmakers recently proposed a newly drafted bill that is expected to sail through Parliament. They can't go after USDT directly, simply because it doesn't seem to have any problems. Private companies seem to be running their systems much more efficiently and much more trustworthy than central players in this space. Thank you for staying to the end of the video. Please like, share and subscribe. Leave your comments in the comment section below. I'll see you again tomorrow.